Hey everybody, what is up? We just got done recording episode 120, a mastermind session on finances, baby. Mike, what'd you think?
I think Sherman just had his second heart attack of the night.
Every time I clap my hands, Sherman. I like how you do. You always like grasp like your chest. You're like, you guys, we have 4 masterminds in the house, and it was a lot of fun. We're gonna go around really quick and let them introduce themselves, and then we're gonna get into this little rapid fire session Q&A. And but before we do, remember, if you want to get notified when the episode comes out, text WHOA GNV to 484848. Ding.
Get your Monday morning message from Collin.
Yeah, I'll let you know when the episode drops. All right, so go around quick.
Andrea from Building Gen Wealth.
Sherman from Dynasty CrossFit.
Joe Lowry Jr. with Lowry Financial Advisors.
Stephen Corson with Everything Money.
Awesome. And first question. This comes from a listener, okay? What types of purchases should you avoid going cheap on?
I'll go first. Knives. When we got married, I insisted that we buy really high quality knives for our kitchen. And it's been 17 years and we're still using the same knives.
Nice.
It's worth the investment.
What kind did you get?
Was it Cutco?
No, it wasn't Cutco. I think they were Wüsthof.
Wüsthof, yeah, that's what I bought.
Yeah, and they've held up. In fact, the Cutco person came to our house to do a demonstration, and they pulled out our knives, and this is supposed to be where they show how much better the knives were, and my knife cut through just as well as theirs. Well, I take care of it, but anyway, good knives. Anyway, I like to cook, so
Nice.
you save money cooking at home with good knives.
Steven?
Oh, man. That caught me off guard. That one was really good.
I tried to go a little
Things to not, honestly, this is one I've learned recently, but shoes, like dress shoes, I did not realize how cheap cobblers are, when it comes to repairing them. So a good pair of quality shoes, I used to just buy like dress shoes once a year, and I just kind of figured that was it. I bought one really nice pair of $150 shoes, Italian leather, all that other stuff. I've had it for 7 years. So it's
Don't skip on the shoes.
Don't skip on the shoes.
Cool.
amen to that.
I want to think about my best purchase that at first I thought was so ridiculous. How could anybody spend that much on that? And now I'm like, I use this every day. AirPods.
AirPods.
That's like, just get them. It's so worth it.
All right, AirPods. Don't skimp on the AirPods.
Hotels when you travel. Ooh. That's a big one for me.
I can second that one.
Hotels when you travel. Stay somewhere nice.
All right.
If you can afford it.
Don't skimp on the hotels. Cool.
Now, is that, I'm sorry, is that for luxury or is that for like safety?
Purely luxury.
Okay.
How many kids do you have?
3.
Yeah, so especially with kids,
You have to get
you want the space.
You need the space.
Yeah.
Because your wife isn't like you. The kids in the next room. You need big space, big rooms.
Yeah, like at least look at the Residence Inn is a nice way to balance cost and space. You get two bathrooms.
Yeah,
it's worth it.
So would you rather Airbnb a whole house by yourself or stay in a luxury hotel room?
I'd rather stay in a luxury hotel room, just a big one.
Depends on duration too.
Right.
2 nights hotel.
Yeah.
You don't want to have to shop and all that stuff.
Right.
Clean
You want
towels.
services
every
on the
morning.
premises. Yeah, maid service.
That's why the quick. It's never rapid fire because you just you start diving deeper into all this. But why? Like really luxury? Like we just got done recording a podcast about money and debt.
But there's nothing wrong with luxury if you can afford it.
Absolutely not. I'm not judging. I can't wait till I can afford it.
All right. So debt snowball or highest interest rate first?
Debt snowball. And psychologically, you're more statistically going to finish.
Okay, but what if one of the debts was like $21,000 and one was like $20,000?
Then, yeah.
All right. I just wanted to see if there's like a threshold. Where is that threshold? Is it like 1,000, 2,000, 3,000?
I mean, if you wanted to do the math, but I think for most people, start with the one that gives you the quickest win because that builds the most momentum. And then later, when you get really into it, then yes, optimize for paying the less amount of interest.
Yeah. You want to explain
I'm
what the
always
debt
high
snowball
as
is real quick? Because we might have some listeners who might not know what the debt snowball is.
We've plugged Dave Ramsey a lot, and everybody that is interested in all these topics should give him a listen. I mean, he kind of, I don't want to say he wrote the book, but really he's kind of the go-to on a lot of this stuff. Debt snowball is arranging your debts in order of smallest to greatest, and starting with
Except for your house.
and starting with the smallest and paying that off first, making the minimum payments on everything else, and then when you get rid of one debt, you're taking that minimum payment and applying it directly to the next smallest debt, until where eventually when you get to that last debt, you're paying off with everything you got.
Yeah, but what if one of the credit cards or something has a 0% interest and it's like number 3 on the list? That's basically what your question was.
Right, and so that's always gets tricky too, is if you've got a deferred interest or 0% interest, like what do you do? Or like we just went through COVID, and there's some credit card carriers or some student loans got deferred interest, and so what do you do then? How do you adapt it? And listening to his podcasts during this time, I think it shed some light on it, but I'm still also hazy, because like I'm getting ready to get into like student loan repayment soon, so it's like, okay, do I have to go back and all that kind of stuff? But there are people that from a mathematics standpoint, and he says this all the time, it's not the best way from a money standpoint. It's the optimum way because you're training yourself behaviorally, but that just ultimately comes down to how stubborn are you. If you can do interest rate first and stick to it religiously, then you're going to save some money that way. But what, to Andrea's point, to Dave's point, is that you've got to train yourself behaviorally, otherwise you won't do it.
Okay. So Sherman,
Debt snowball.
debt snowball. What if it's like $1,000? like
the focus. Debt snowball.
All right.
For me, it's the interest rate, and it's partly because most of what I'm confronting, it's not your $500 credit card. It's maybe somebody came out of medical school and they've got 5 loans, and one's 8% and the other one's 4%. So I'm going to hit the 8% because we're talking about $150,000 or $200,000 of debt. They have the income to be able to support, paying it down pretty aggressively. So we're going to hit that. But I think, like any guru, Dave Ramsey's advice is good generally, but individuals should feel free to make their own call. But I'm an interest rate guy.
Okay.
I'm a guru myself here for a second and say that I have what I call the Avalanche 10% rule. So, because I do agree it's about psychology and human behavior more than it is about the amounts, but at the same time, let's not be lazy and assume that's the only two ways. So I say you start with a high interest rate. Again, if you have a $500 credit card, you just want to pay off whatever, go ahead. But in general, I would say you start with a high interest rate, and then what you do is you take your debt in total, not excluding the mortgage, and you cut it up into 10% blocks. So what you do is if you have $50,000 in debt, every $5,000 that you pay off, you take one paycheck, or not one paycheck, but one amount that you would normally contribute to debt, and then that you spend on treating yourself. So whatever you want to do. Sorry, that was my watch with the echo. But so every 10%, you would come in and basically just every $5,000, I know that once I pay that off, I get a treat yourself day. I'm going to go on a little vacation. I'm going to go shopping, do whatever. So
Go to a luxury hotel.
Luxury hotel, all about it.
Treat yourself.
Treat yourself.
Treat yourself.
So yeah,
Interesting.
10% rule.
But I'm like, you've already treated yourself. That's why you're in debt.
Yeah. Treat yourself once you're out of debt. All right, so this is from in-house.
Steven's a carrot. Not
So
a
we
stick.
have, you guys met Sarah earlier. We have a college student, right?
Thanks
So
again.
a lot of, one of the points behind the podcast is really trying to bridge, especially here in Gainesville, but connect the college students to the businesses here. Definitely one of our main goals. So how can a college student best prepare for their financial future?
Scale their cookies.
Yeah, really.
There you go, Sarah. Scale the cookies.
That's right.
Andrea?
I think the biggest thing for them to learn right out of school is how can I live on 80% of my income? If you can make that work, make that consistent, or even 90, but less than 100%. And then make your goal to get to 80 or 79. Just always, I think from the beginning, if you just mentally go into it, how can I live off less and grow that over time, I think you'll be ahead of the game.
It's awesome. Love it.
Yeah, I agree with Andrea. 2 things. 1, if you have debt, get out of debt quickly as possible. 2, live on less than you make. Simple. Keep it simple. Get out of debt, live on less than you make.
Love it.
if you have to borrow money for school, don't borrow what you can, borrow what you need. They will always lend you more money than you need. And same is true for mortgages and other things, but borrow what you need, get a job. It's okay if it takes you longer if you can come out of school in a stronger financial position.
You're talking about coming out of college, right? So I would say consider cost of living, because a lot of people, as soon as they graduate, they're trying to figure out where they're going to go, and they just look at the fact that, oh, this job's going to pay me $55,000 a year versus this one's going to pay me $70,000 a year. Well, guess what? $70,000 in New York City is a lot less money than $55,000 in Gainesville, Florida. So the $55,000 in Gainesville, Florida is actually a lot more money. So I would say just consider cost of living. There's some great calculators online that can give you a rough estimate of what you're looking at, where you're going to go. But heavily consider that wherever you end up moving after college.
Great.
All right, next question. Outside of an employer-sponsored plan, should you invest if you have debt?
If you can get rid of your high interest credit card debt, and I think you should invest habitually, even if you're in debt, even if it's like $10 to $15 a month, to build that muscle. There's a whole lot more we can unpack. This is rapid fire, but I think for the habit of learning and consistently putting towards, investing, time's also a resource. So consider that.
No, I like to focus, pay off the debt, and then get to work.
If you're participating in an employer-sponsored plan, probably not. If you don't have access to that, consider something like a Roth IRA to at least make some, like Andrea said to build the habit. But generally, pay off the debt.
I'll go into the room on that one for the most part. I think, if you're going to start young, pay off the debt.
Yeah, you can do so much more when we have no debt. Should students get student loans to go through school?
Can we start over there?
I always like to start with the ladies first.
Unfortunately, it just depends, because all degrees are not created equal right now when it comes to it. So I would say that you need to consider, are you going to a private college for a sociology degree, in New York or LA or whatever, and you're going to come out with $120,000, $160,000 in debt after 4 years? In that case, I would say, you have to question at that point if it's even worth a degree. If you're going to get the same degree and you're going to do it at a public university at Florida that's really cheap for $20,000, then yeah, absolutely. If that's what it takes, the return on investment of that degree is completely different. So for me, unfortunately, I think we're at a breaking point with any degree to where you have to look at it in terms of ROI, and not just the fact of, is this a school I want to go to?
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think there's a couple of schools or a couple of programs where the undergraduate, where you get your undergrad makes some kind of an impact, for your future earnings. But for the most part, undergraduate is not where you should spend the money. And if you can avoid borrowing, that would be good. If you have to borrow, be careful. Like I said, borrow less than they'll give you. Borrow just what you need, and be pretty, strict about that. But really try not to if you can.
For the sake of rapid fire, no.
Consistency.
Sherman is the man. He's good at this.
Sherman's on it.
Mine's not going to be that short. But it'll be short. If you want to start a business, I would say no. If you want to be a doctor, engineer, I would say sure. If you don't know what you want to do, I would say really measure the return on investment, even though it'll be hard. Yeah.
All right, we talked about our biggest tips, but for somebody that listens to this podcast and they come out of it supercharged to start their own, financial journey, or maybe it's get out of debt, what is the very first thing they should do?
I mean, it kind of goes to, I think this is the universal first step is, the beginning of every journey starts with first knowing where you want to go. So I would encourage them to look out 3 to 5 years, but in order to know where you're going to go, you have to know where you are. So that makes the first step, knowing your financial situation. So understanding what your debt is and what your income is.
Word.
I agree. You got to write out all the debt. That's a scary thing. Write it all out. Figure it out, so you can come up with a plan.
The second thing you should do then, tell someone, tell a friend, tell someone your goals, because that creates some level of accountability.
Yes or no questions coming up next. Can anyone be a millionaire?
Yes.
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 Should parents help their kids establish credit?
Yes or no?
Yeah, we talked about this on the show, so everybody knows, but just quick yes or no. Should parents help their children establish credit?
No.
Maybe.
Sure.
No. Not kids.
Well, I mean, they're college kids, college students.
Oh, are we considering that an adult
that's a
or
kid.
not?
Yeah,
I'm
but
calling it
like-
17 and under. 17
Okay.
and under doesn't need it.
You're a college student.
Still probably not.
Yeah, one more?
Yeah, keep going.
Okay. I have my final question.
Oh, go ahead then. Yeah.
All right. So, final question. And you guys are going to want to make sure you check out the podcast this Monday at 8 a.m. But final question, if our podcast can connect you to one person, who would it be?
It's the one question that everyone can actually like research before they show up. But it stumps
If you guys
everyone.
want to research, if you get invited to the podcast, research that one.
All right.
Who would you want to meet? Who's the one person? If we could connect you to that person, who would it be? Such a tough question.
Yeah, that's a hard one.
I would like to meet. Do it have to be a past guest?
No, be anybody you want.
I want to meet
You wanna
Warren.
meet Jeff
I want to meet
Bezos?
Warren Buffett.
Warren Buffett.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's like 90 now.
Do you remember who you said when you were a guest on our normal episodes?
Joe. That guy, Joe.
Oh.
Yeah. Dr. Joe?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Dr.
Joe
Joe.
Johnson. Yeah. Did he reach out to you?
No.
Oh, man, we need to make that happen. Dang. We'll make that happen. We got that connection.
I would love to sit down with Jocko Willink. I think that would be really fun. Did I take your answer?
You seriously took
I did. I took
Really?
There goes
Really?
that one.
Oh, wow.
I was thinking podcasting in terms of podcasting. That man's voice would seriously, if he told me to run through a wall, I think I'd do it. Like he's just the ultimate commander,
I'm just not
military
cool enough to
guy.
be on his podcast, though.
On the money front, that's me and like Chris Hogan. I hear Chris Hogan talk. He's a Ramsey personality, and I'm just like, man. Not only is he velvety smooth, but anything that guy would ask me to do, I'd be like, all right, let's go.
I'll say the Budgetnista. She started her financial education company in the midst of the recession, and it's huge. So I would love to
Really?
pick her brain.
That's cool.
Which recession? This one?
The last,
The financial. Sorry, yeah.
the Great Recession.
We got another one coming around
Already? Well, that's awesome. You guys, again, make sure you check it out this Monday. Thank you guys so much again for coming. It was a lot of fun.
Thanks for having us.
Super
Thanks
enjoyed
for
it.
having us.
Mastermind, session number 120.
That's right.
Done 120 of these, man. Can you believe that? What's gonna be Mastermind 130?
Oh, we haven't decided yet.
I know. What are we gonna talk about? What do you want to talk about?
Tacos.
Tacos.
Can't go wrong with
Mastermind
tacos.
130 taco. I mean, if you guys have any suggestions, let us know. We definitely want to focus on topics that you, our audience, you want to hear about, because we can all
Fitness
grow
would be good.
together, baby. We can all grow together.
Or nutrition.
We will see you later. Thanks so much for listening. Share this with somebody. See ya. Bye.
Bye.
Wave at a camera. Say bye. See ya.